Hey loves, welcome back to Nariah Speaks. I'm your host Nariah, and today we are diving into a topic that I'm super excited about. It is a topic that is super close to me. I usually pre-record way prior to releasing episodes, but this time I am recording right when I'm ready to release. So this is hitting home for me. So if you're listening on release date or release week, this is super close to me. This topic is called survival love. So if you ever found yourself holding on to someone out of fear, obligation, or because you didn't want to start over, then you felt it. You felt survival love. Survival love isn't just emotional, it's generational. It's cultural, it's historical. And the more I'm unpacking my own story, the more I'm realizing this pattern isn't just about me. It's about where we come from and what we were taught love was meant for. So when I look back, I can see that survival love doesn't start with romance. I started to realize that it starts in the family. A lot of us grew up in homes where love was tied to responsibility or where we had to be strong just to get by. Maybe your parents worked nonstop. Maybe you were raised by someone who didn't know how to express affection, primarily because they never received it themselves. And that kind of environment teaches you early that love isn't always soft or consistent. It's conditional. It's I love you when you're doing right. It's I love you when you're helping me survive. It's I love you when you are the way I want you to be. And for me, I learned to read the room. I've learned to sense when someone's energy is shifting, and I try to fix it. I try to apologize really quick, even if I haven't even sat with how I really felt. I've tried to fix things, even if it meant me making myself smaller, even if I wasn't necessarily all the way wrong, even if that other person is not taking accountability. That is a form of survival love. It's love that keeps peace at the cost of your own peace, your own internal peace. So when those patterns go unhealed and we don't do the work, they can follow us well into the rest of our lives, especially if we're not willing to sit there in the silence, because there's always something happening. But if we're not willing to sit there in the silence and actually take in what's going on, we can just keep going on autopilot for as long as possible. In relationships, survival love can look like staying with someone who's super inconsistent. You know how he is on Monday, he's different on Friday, okay? You'll stay in that inconsistency just because it's familiar. Survival love is like craving a connection and accepting breadcrumbs. It's like you think that you can earn loyalty when that person never promised you any kind of safety. And I've been there. I've stayed in situations because a part of me wanted to prove I was worth staying for, that this was love worth fighting for, even when everything in me was tired. That's when you realize survival love doesn't want peace, it wants control. It's not even about the person, it's about you avoiding the pain of being alone, of starting over, of not having something to hold on to after you worked 12-hour shift and you're tired. So the part that really, really changed my perspective on survival love is that it didn't start with us. A lot of the time, it was inherited. Historically, people did not marry for love. They married for survival, for protection, for property, status, fame, stability, especially for women. Marriage wasn't a choice, it was a necessity. You couldn't just walk away from a man who mistreated you, whether you have 4 or 5 of his kids or none of his kids. You couldn't just walk away. There was a time because survival depended on that partnership. Even if that partnership lacked love, you have no love in that situation, but you had to stay there because you had to survive. You would be a disgrace to your family. If you really talk about like farther in history, you were a disgrace for having a failed marriage at some point. That's why in a lot of older generations, like you would see married couples sleeping in separate rooms. It wasn't necessarily a sign of hate. It was a reflection of practicality. Marriage was about duty, not intimacy. It was about keeping the family functioning, not necessarily keeping the love and romance alive. That mindset in itself shaped many generations, teaching people that quote unquote love was about endurance. That's why some people call it struggle love. I'm calling it survival love, and that mindset of marriage being a duty or an obligation, it taught people that you're supposed to go through like the ride or die situation. But it did not teach anybody about emotional connection. You would stay even if you weren't satisfied, you weren't fulfilled. You would endure pain even if you weren't happy. Like, this person made you hurt more than they made you smile, but you would stay. And that became the foundation of what a lot of us witnessed growing up. And culturally, many families still teach those survival-based beliefs. Think about it. How often have you heard marry within your culture or stick to what you know? Or my favorite one, I had an ex-family tell me specifically, marry for love. That's not just prejudice. That's about protection. Families want to preserve what feels safe, what feels stable, what aligns with the values that help them survive their hardships. But when love is based on survival instead of alignment, it actually limits us. It teaches us to choose familiarity over feeling fulfilled. And I see it happening even now in 2025. Still seeing survival love play out just in different ways. Maybe women are not staying the way they used to, but the cost of living is high. Rent is wild, inflation is real, and that economic pressure can blur the lines between partnership and dependency. So now everybody's confused. Some people move in together fast because it's cheaper. Others stay in situations that don't serve them because splitting bills, it feels safer than starting all over. Or being like, okay, now I'm 50 and alone, so why do that when I could just stay here and just live comfortably, I guess. It's not always about romance. Sometimes it's about the relief, about not wanting to do life alone when life already feels heavy. And I do get it. I get it. I'm not talking down on anyone who made those decisions for themselves. We all crave security. But when survival becomes the foundation of a relationship, I think it's hard to love. Like, it's hard for love to grow in that kind of environment because everything is just routine and structured. There's no room for, what's the word I'm looking for? Spontaneous activity. Everything is cut and dry in those kind of situations, which is another reason why our generation is somewhat scared of marriage as well, because of how they're like, I don't want to end up in a sexless marriage. Like, I get that part too. So, but when, like I was saying, when survival becomes the foundation of your relationship, it's hard for love to grow in that kind of environment. You start to confuse comfort with connection, and you can even confuse stability with safety. Even when you feel anxious inside, like you feel physically like I shouldn't be here, you can have that feeling in you, and you stay and you're like, man, like, what would a fulfilled life really feel like for me? And you're in a room that you don't necessarily want to be in. But what I find beautiful is that we are the generation that's changing that dynamic. We're learning that love doesn't have to be transactional. It's just interesting enough for me because I think that came with time to be like, okay, love is not always transactional. It doesn't have to be a power struggle. It doesn't have to mean choosing safety over soul connection. I think you can have it all if you really want it. We can redefine what love means, not as a form of survival, but as a space of safety, freedom, and mutual peace. For me, unlearning survival love, it meant saying no even when I'm lonely. Oh my goodness, super hard. But like, no, it's been reminding myself that peace is better than proving a point. I don't have to chase love that just leaves me feeling confused all the time. And it's also meant looking at my history, at the woman who came before me, and understanding that they did the best that they could with what they had. But I get to do better with what I know now. So that's where I'm at, healing from survival love while honoring where it came from. Both can exist at the same time. Because the truth is, love should feel like a soft place to land, not a place you have to survive in. You want to feel safe. So I do have about 5 tips for people who are trying to unlearn survival love. And the first one is going to be acknowledge the pattern. You can't change anything that you are not willing to acknowledge within yourself. Number 2 is going to be reparent yourself. You can give yourself that love that you did not receive. You can be your own space now. Never too late. It's never too soon. Number 3, set boundaries. Like I said, saying no even when you're lonely. Boundaries actually provide clarity. Paying attention to who's willing to respect your boundaries. Like, for instance, if I said, I'm not drinking for 3 months and you're someone that I'm considering as a potential partner or even a friend, so to say, and within 3 weeks of me telling you I'm not drinking for 3 months and I'm dead serious, and you're like, I'm about to get a shot, Nariah, take one with me. And I already done told you where I'm at with it. that means that you don't respect my boundaries. If I have already told you that I would prefer for you not to contact me after a certain time, business hours only, and you continue to proceed to contact me whenever you feel like it, you do not respect my boundaries. If I said I am not having company over my house for this amount of time because I'm not comfortable, and you continue to be like, let me come over there and cook you breakfast, that means you don't respect my boundaries. So this is why it's important to set boundaries so that you can know who is actually respectful of you as a person and not just who they want you to be in their lives. Number 4, you should let love be easy. Don't confuse boredom with peace. If you're bored in that relationship, then you're bored. But don't confuse love being chaotic with it being love. I've realized that there's a high that comes with up and down, on and off relationships. When you're cursing each other out and then you're making passionate love right after. That's not letting love be easy. That is you being addicted to a high, to a cycle, to something that you've decided that you wanted to do. But the way that ages for most people, we've all seen how those type of relationships end. So letting love be easy is understanding that healthy love feels calm. It's not chaotic. It's not up and down. Number 5, and my last one, would be building a support system. Having people around you, whether it's family, community, whoever it is for you, having a support system will help you when it comes to unlearning survival love. Being in alignment with the people that you have around you is very important. So whether that means you could join a book club, start a yoga class, start Pilates class, art class. If you are a writer, creative writing classes are important. If you are an artist, getting into spaces with people who are willing to share beats with you, very important. Just being in alignment with people who share familiar interests. That type of support system is important just as much as having the support system you were born into or brought up with is also very important. So if this resonated with you, I'd like to hear your story, your thoughts. You can email me at nariahspeaks@gmail.com. I read every message and I love connecting. So thank you for tuning in, for growing with me, for choosing a love that feels safe, not stressful. Until next time, take care of your peace. And remember, real love doesn't demand your survival. It invites your softness.